Dashboards, probably one of my favorite tools. It really kind of complements the whole home server environment. You can have all your services on there, fun little widgets. It's just the little cherry on top to everything that you could do with a home server. Now, I've used plenty of these dashboards, whether that be homepage, you have Heimdall. One of my personal favorites and the most recent one was Home R. Ton of features, and it integrates very well with the R kind of stack of applications. But the one that I have switched to, I do find myself using more than any other one. This one is not only beautiful, but it is configured simply with a single YAML file for the entire application. This right here is Glace. Dare I say, giving you a glance of your entire home server. If I head over here to their GitHub page, you can get a lot of different information. They have pretty decent documentation, a list of all the features. It's something that's not going to be as feature rich as of yet as something like Home R, but its implementation of what it does have is phenomenal. If I scroll down here, you can see it's mobile friendly. There's a bunch of different themes or kind of color schemes that you can use, including documentation. Very easy to configure and install, whether that be through Docker Compose or a manual binary installation. Personally, if we head on over here, I have it installed via a Proxmox helper script, which all you do is run this command on your kind of host machine, and it will spin up an LXC, and then you use this to manage everything. Really easy, but later on I'll show you kind of the installation process with Docker, as that will probably be the most common way to go about this. But first, before we get into all that, my configuration, how to configure it, and more in-depth little investigation into some of the features, I do need to thank the sponsor of today's video, and that is the Yesoul exercise bike. Yes, I'm just as surprised as you are. Model that they sent over is the GM1 Plus bike with a 1080p screen. In my experience using it, it's very comfortable, has a pretty wide seat. Like many other popular exercise bikes, there's a little dial to adjust the tension or the kind of theoretical elevation that you get when you're working out with it. After I got it, I realized you need a subscription to their service to be able to use the screencasting feature, but that casting feature is great. It's simple plug and play, whether if you're using your cell phone, just about anything that supports display out can project to that screen, making for a really nice, entertaining, and comfortable workout. And no matter what you're watching, you're still going to have stats on the screen up in the corner of your time, your watts that you're generating, and the current elevation level that you are on. Personally, I've been using it to cast my Plex server on it when I am using it, and I have had no trouble whatsoever. The main selling point of this bike is just the cost effectiveness. You can see a little pricing comparison here compared to some of the kind of big name competitors. And better yet, if you use the link down below, you'll get $100 of instant savings. So again, check the link down below to enjoy fun cardio with Yesoul. Now back over here, we are at the GitHub page. One thing I want to do is just go back to my instance and kind of talk about some of the features here that I am utilizing. So first, the services section, I actually have two of them, is the monitoring feature. So with this, you input a IP address or whatever, and then it will tell you if the service is up. As you can see, everything here that I have going on is in fact up and running. Little preview, I'm getting everything organized and kind of as perfect as I can before my home services kind of tour video. So do subscribe so you do not miss that. We do have some widgets. DNS status, this is my Pi-hole instance, so you can see how much percent of the DNS queries have been blocked right here. Just a nice little quick overview. Image is my image server. So it's like my Google Photos replacement, nice little statistics there. And then I have a quick link to kind of the main GitHub repository that I'm work on quite frequently, which is my home lab repository. And that's really it for the amount of features I'm doing. Just a real nice overview. Of course, we could search. So if I search like TechHut Docker, take you over here, and then we have real nice search to this Docker guide, which you should probably check out. So if I head back over here, we also have another tab, and again, all this is customizable. This home tab, I haven't really changed too much from the default, but this is really nice because it gives me a nice little calendar. We have the weather for my area. Right here, we have the latest from Hacker News, so I can get a nice overview of what is going on there. We have lobsters here as well, so we have all kind of interesting articles that I would be interested in checking out. So I could just click this to jump right over to it, see what's going on. I'm going to close that out for now. And then down here, we have an RSS feed. You can say I got 9 to 5 Linux, OMG Ubuntu, just their latest posts, and you could customize that however you want. We have videos here, so we have Linus Tech Tips, Jeff, and just some things that I kind of care to watch. We have Fireship here. Over here, just a little overview of the market, some of the things that I am kind of generally interested in. And then if we scroll down, we do have Twitch channels here. I don't really watch Twitch. I just kind of kept that there to demonstrate this. You can put in some Reddit groups or pages, forgot what they're called. And then right here, again, I haven't really customized this either. This is like new releases from GitHub repositories. And that is a really nice overview of how this looks, how pretty it can be. And if I jump over to my Proxmox instance here, like I said, personally, I do have this installed in an LXC little container right here. We got Tabby into our Glace LXC. There we go. So now let's cd into op Glace, a folder in the YAML file. In here, we just have a Glace file and then the Glace configuration. So if I just nano into that .yaml, this is the entire configuration. Now, what is it? Homar is really nice because you do basically all of the configuration through the kind of web interface, but that even gets kind of messy because there's like, depending on the size of your window, there's different layouts and configurations. Kind of hard to work with for me. Granted, there are more features. I do find myself leaning into this. So for this configuration, as an example, we have the start page, which is our first page. It's just all organized in this kind of tabbed hierarchy here. You have some settings for this specific page, so it's going to be slim. So if I open this back up over here, you can see this page is kind of wide, and if I go over here, it does tighten it up a little bit. I am zoomed in quite a bit, but the width is slim. We have hide desktop navigation false, which is going to be the little navigation bar up here. We have center vertically, and then the columns. Now for the columns, you can see I have one column here and a column here. So this one is set to full. But then if I go down, I switched this so you don't see all my domains and tokens. There it is, where the next column starts. You can see it's set to size small, giving it that more kind of sidebar feel. And while we're on the sidebar, you can see one of the widgets here is the DNS stats, Pi-hole, the URL, and the token, and that is it. And then it's the same thing right here for image. This one is using a custom API. We have image stats, 1 day URL. And then here, since this is custom, you do have to kind of create your own little template here. This one is just copied and pasted directly from the GitHub repository, which if I open up the repository under configuration, we can see the configuration documentation here. Lots of fun stuff. So here's all the available widgets. We have the RSS feed, video, Hacker News, Reddit, everything that we kind of touched. The custom API right here is where I pulled the image thing. So if you go to custom API, it kind of gives you an overview of how it's going to work. We have like a random fact example. This is the image stats. So this is what I pulled and just popped right into the configuration. Worked completely fine, good to go. There's another one here, for example, Steam specials, and if I view it, you can see it just pulls from a URL, little template to set everything up, and you're good to go. If I scroll back up here, it's a pretty big documentation, single kind of markdown file. You do iframe, HTML, a bunch of stuff. Over here under monitor, this is probably what you're going to use more than anything. And this is their little example of how you could set it up. So for example, we have the title, URL, icon. If I scroll down, you can get a little preview, you can get all the properties, and then there are additional options so you could show failing only if that's something you wanted to do. If you wanted just like a little thing on the bottom with all your services in there and you only want to see if something's down, you could do that. You have style, so you can compact it down if you want to. And then here are all of the properties. So for example, alt status codes, I did have to use that for like my Plex one, for instance, just because of how like the authentication works. It just was not cooperating, but because of this, it allowed me to have that on there. You can have a separate check URL, which I do. So I have the URL, which is my local proxy, but the check is going to be the IP addresses. And of course, with icons, we can use the server icons, which is what I'm doing. So here is a kind of look at my configuration right there under NZBGit was one that wasn't working properly. So alt status code. So if I get a 401 or a 403 from that instance, it's still going to say that it's up and working fine. For icon, you can see I have DI, which is dashboard icons NZBGit. I have the check URL, which is just the IP address, and then the actual URL, which is what is used when I actually click on the link. And of course, my configuration, I didn't completely just write it myself. I just pulled theirs and edited the hell out of it. I believe if we go back to kind of the home main area, we can go right here to pre-configured pages. Now, this is what I used for my start page, which is literally called start page. I did change up, I added the sidebar here, which gives me an overview of kind of the things that I care about the most. I do wish there was like a one for like a little graph for active download speeds, things like that. That would be super cool. If I was smart enough, I would just figure it out and write it myself. But that's the start page. We have markets, gaming, just as some examples, and then you can view the config of how those are specifically set up. Copy paste, switching in and out the things that you care about, and life is good. And kind of a cool thing about this is how quickly it actually updates. So if I wanted to, for example, let's say on home I wanted to change something. Let's say I wanted to get rid of SPY. I wanted to get rid of the index fund from my little markets widget here. All I would do is come over here to home, and you could see column small. So this is that first sidebar. We have calendar, RSS feed, then full, which is kind of the middle column, the middle larger column. We have all the videos and whatnot. And then right here, size, weather. This is the last sidebar. You can see I have it set to Imperial using my zip code. And then right here under markets, we have SPY. So I would go Control K, I think. Yep, Control K, and then Control O, output that. And then all we need to do is come over here and refresh it. And then you can see SPY is gone. So we don't need to like restart the server, the container, a Docker container, anything like that. The actual service pulls from the configuration upon refresh. So you just make an edit and it's available next time you refresh the page. Really nice. Now, one thing I'm kind of curious about is theming here. It doesn't really show where to put this exactly in the configuration, but I would assume it would be root, as it would affect all the pages. But just as a little reminder, this is what we look like here, and I am going to just add one of these just to see what happens. I really like this. I think this Grove box is the default. Let's try out this camouflage one. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a copy, and then let's just drop this right there. Control O, and then let's see if that's all it took. Refresh. Yep, there we are. New theme, ready to go. Easy peasy. And obviously with this, you can really just configure the colors exactly how you would like to and make it yours. Now, for the installation, like I said, it is really easy. I just, again, installed mine with a little LXC. Everything is right here in the Glace folder. Edit it, you're good to go. If I go back over here to their home page on the GitHub repository, scroll down to installation, you can see there are a few different ways. So here we have Docker Compose using provided directory structure. So it looks like you're just pulling down a little template, and you have a Docker Compose that you spin up, config, glance, and you're good to go. So just for demonstration's sake, let's just do it, shall we? So if I copy this, let's head into one of these that I know has Docker installed. Let's go to my Frigate one. So root. Now I should just be able to drop this in there and it's going to make that folder for me. So boop. Now if I ls, look at that. From here you have the assets, the config. So the assets folder is where you can put like custom icons, things like that. Config obviously is going to be the glance YML, and we have a home YML. So nano glance. Slightly different structure. So we have a server option for our asset path. We have a theme option under user CSS, and then we have our pages, and it will so far only include the home YAML. And the home YAML, so if I nano to home, that will probably look a little bit more familiar to me, what it does. So if I go out of there, and for giggles, let's check out that assets folder. And the only thing in there is that CSS. So if I preview it, it's empty. So I would just probably copy and paste the little kind of configuration theme variables in there. And then all we really need to do is spin up that Docker container. So I'll do Docker compose up. I'm going to run this without detached, just so we can kind of see the logs and whatnot. So there we go. Glance is running. It's polling. It's created. starting server on 8080. So this is 107. So if I go to 10, boom, 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 107, 8080. Well, yeah, look at that. We have Glace. Easy peasy. Running in Docker, again, I kind of demoed it or showed it off in the very beginning. I do have a whole separate video and a whole guide on Docker. Kind of a pretty short general use video, gets you familiar with it enough to use it, at least in the a little more than what I just did, obviously. But if we go over here, that is the recommended way to do it. They do have a manual kind of Docker Compose that you could go ahead and play with. Of course, we have the binary installation, which is how it's installed on my machine through the Proxmox script. And then if you hate yourself, apparently there's a way to do it on Windows. Oh, look, and there's the other. So here's the Proxmox script, Nix package, and whatever that is. So yeah, that is my new favorite dashboard for my home lab. It's simple, it's pretty, I like it. It's going to be easy to carry around my configuration file with me no matter what I do, and I'm probably soon going to publish it on that GitHub repository for my home lab. Have a lot of updating to do on that before I push out that must-have services video, so do be watching out for that. And with all that, I do hope you have an absolutely beautiful day, and goodbye.